Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Infuse Your Future podcast, where we bring together people and ideas who are making the world a better place. And today I'm excited to announce our guest, Karen Lee Cohen. She's an 8-time regional Emmy Award winning producer and executive producer, former director of programs for WNBC TV in New York, and founder and president of Crystal Pyramid Productions, Inc. Currently, she's in the process of writing her second book, tentatively titled Let's Be Peace, a collaborative work about alternative health and wellness modalities and spiritual journeys. Her entrepreneurial goals include launching a podcast, followed by a streaming video service exploring the multitude of options we all have on our personal journey to health and wellness. She's also a speaker, business and spiritual mentor, and non-denominational minister. And you can find out a lot more about Karen at letsbepeace.com and KarenLeeCohen.com. So without further ado, hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm great, Carla. Thank you so much for that introduction. You kind of covered everything. So that's who I am as of now. But it's changing daily as we all are evolving.
So I've gotten a chance to read your first book, which is It's About Time, my award-winning TV adventure. And is available on Amazon.com and on her website, letsbepeace.com. And wow, you've done a lot in life. You've lived a pretty exciting, exhilarating life. But I'd like to hear it in your words. Why don't you tell the audience about yourself, who you are, and what you do in the world?
Yeah, I've really been very blessed. I mean, when I wrote it's called a prescriptive memoir because I stop and I talk about what different things mean. So I wanted it to be a teaching memoir too. So I talk about what a producer does and what a director does and what a writer does and what syndication is. So my goal is to have people get information about the industry and writing. And I realized how much my path had been guided by angels and guides, which is something I never recognized when I was younger. So the whole experience of writing the memoir, which came out of I'm very active with Columbia College Chicago, which is my alma mater. And we were in a Zoom meeting in 2021 with students who were deciding whether or not where they wanted to go. And I was in a Zoom room about Los Angeles because that's where I'm located now. And for some reason, I had the idea to put one of my Emmys on the desk. And needless to say, that attracted a lot of attention. And a couple of the students said, we've got to write a book about how to win an Emmy. And I said, that's a great idea. You can't really write a book about how to win an Emmy. You can't quantify that. But it was, and I can't use the word Emmy because on the back or the front cover because it's trademarked. So I said, but it was, and people over the years, Carla has asked me to, say, oh, gee, you've had so many interesting experiences. Why don't you write it? But it was really those 4 students that I was in the Zoom room with that encouraged me to. It was now time for me to do it. And probably my angels and guides too, because the first thing I thought to do was to write to a bunch of colleagues and relatives and ask them for their memories. Carla, I have no idea where that came from. So I give the angels and guides credit for that. So I started getting, when I wrote the email to them, I did not know where I was going to go with it. So I collected all of these wonderful memories, and I jokingly say, I don't need eulogies now. I've got them. I've got them in the book. And as I started actually writing the book, it became obvious that I needed to write all the book myself, but that I would use the memories that apply to a particular chapter. I would use that at the end of each chapter, which is what I ended up doing. And what I realized through the process, and I'm sure everybody who does a memoir finds it's very cathartic. You think of things that you didn't really think of at the time because you're too busy doing them.
Right.
So it's been a wonderful experience. And through that experience, and I know one of the things that is the most appropriate for your audience is the Let's Be Peace movement that I'm that I'm working on now, launching now. And that really became very obvious to me again through the writing of the book. I had originally, based in 2004, I worked for the singer Jewel, and I actually worked for her mother, Lynedra Carroll. And Lynedra wrote a book called The Architecture of All Abundance. And in the book, she talks about being peace, and that's the way we're going to create peace. And it just resonated with me. And so I started doing #BePeace in all my social media. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of grew and grew inside of me. And my middle niece, my niece Alyssa said to me, "I don't like BePeace. It's too demanding." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I can get that. Let's Be Peace," because I had been taking a Reiki and energetic healing course from a wonderful healer named Dorothy Lee Donahue. And she always talked about when she was in business, she always said, "Let's do this." She never, demanded things. She was very successful doing that. So I took that advice from her and I made it Let's Be Peace. And that's really what the theme is now. And when I started, my second book was going to be my journey for health and wellness, alternative health and wellness modalities, which I'm very, very passionate about. I was with a group, we were trying to do an alternative health and wellness channel, and I still will do some version of that. And my spiritual journey. And when I started writing it, it became obvious to me that it had to be a collaborative book, because the alternative health and wellness parts had to come from the experts. It was fun. I'm in the first couple chapters, I'm talking about my journey, but I want people to be able to use the book as a guide to see what resonates with them, to find out what acupuncture is and what Ayurvedic medicine is and what chiropractic is, and all the things that I've embraced over my life so far. I want people tapping. I want people to be able to use the book to not only embrace their journey to being peace, but to have alternative health and wellness modalities to become aware of that. And the book itself is just, it's just gotten bigger and bigger. It's literally, and again, I credit my angels and guides, it's grown to the point that I have people from Germany and Canada and England, and people are still coming saying, can I be in it? And I'm just at the point where I may say, "Oh, okay, I have plenty of material now." But what a wonderful place to be, that all these wonderful people are coming in. And right now we're in 2023, and there's so many things going on. And as when I first met you via Facebook, Let's Be Peace seems to be resonating with everyone. So it's time for me to say, okay, no, now we've got it. And I'm starting to talk to some publishers and doing editing. But a friend of mine, when I first approached her with this about 6-7 months ago, she said, "Karen, this isn't a book, this is a movement." And that really resonated with me. I realized what I'm realizing is my purpose is here, to be peace and to help people embrace the peace within themselves. So that's a very long, I'm not even sure what the question was, but that's kind of where my journey is now. And I'm just having so much fun letting people express their thoughts on what being peace is. I don't tell, I have a bunch of questions that I ask people, but I don't tell them, what my belief system until we're done. So it's been lovely seeing how peace, basically for everyone, peace and wellness do go together. It's when you're peaceful, you'll be well, and when you're well, you'll be peaceful. It's kind of, there's no bottom line, but it's kind of the two ideas really meld well together. And it's important to me that people know that to be peace within themselves is sufficient to create peace. Don't have to go out and do anything big. But if you're peace within yourself, whoever you meet, you're going to spread that. You're going to be that. And that's what I want people to, not that what I want is important, but that's what I hope people will embrace. And I do believe as each one of us become peace inside of ourselves, that's how we're going to create peace. It's not going to happen from governments. It's not going to happen, from other kinds of movements. It's you and me, Carla, just being peaceful and creating that wherever we go. Just our energy going out to people. So that's pretty much where the movement is right now. I hope by early next year we'll get the book done, which will be followed, and maybe I'll start the podcast even before that, because all of these experts are so wonderful. They'll, I have 18 people already that'll be in the book that will have already committed to doing the podcast. So the two may happen simultaneously, and I know the universe will let me know what's supposed to happen. So I'm just kind of letting go and letting things happen the way they're supposed to.
Well, as anybody that knows me knows, I would be super excited to hear your podcast and read this book. I don't understand why peace hasn't gone viral in the past. And, I don't understand the human fascination with war and violence. And it's really hard for me to grasp why other people propagate it and try to profit off of it. And we do need it. So I'm wondering, with all the knowledge that you have and that you've acquired throughout life, why do you think it is that peace isn't the thing going viral instead of violence and war? What can we do to make peace what people strive for over war and violence? And want to get up every day and just explore being peace rather than exploring TikTok or video games or whatever it is they're exploring besides the peace.
I can't say I have a clue why it hasn't become more of a movement yet, but that's what you and I, Carl, are doing. We're helping to create that. I don't know what your listeners' belief system is about the ascension and about what's happening, but we are at a time where I believe things are evolving, and we're transmuting a lot of the negativity that has been with us on the earth plane for many years. And as we transmute it, everything's coming up. And unfortunately, part of that is war. I was a little bit shocked October 7th when what has happened. But it's, in my belief system, all of this needs to come up, transmuted, so that people will begin to evolve and realize that, like you and I do, that peace is where we want to be, and that's what we want to create. And it has to be on an individual basis. We need to go inside, and when we find out what's best for us, that will help create peace. So I can't even begin to think about coming up with why it isn't as pervasive as we would like it to be, but I am confident it's going to be. And I think that's why I've been given this mission. Sounds weird. I've never used that word before. This purpose to do my part while I can to spread the concept of peace.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it is that our world has gotten so frenetic in some ways that many people do not yet understand how much control we have over that, and how much goodness we have inside of us. And even for health and wellness, I believe that one of the questions that I've asked all the experts is, what does being your own best doctor mean? And there's been some wonderful answers to that, but it's basically using your intuition, gathering your, I call them teammates. And before I forget, I want to say, on my website, some of the teammates, and most of them are not in the Let's Be Peace book, but I offer a free list of some of the teammates that I've used over the years and how to reach them. There's the Angel Lady, and there's some wonderful people, and that you can just sign up for my give me your email address, and then get the free list of teammates. But I mean, and that's really what I've always embraced, is that it really is up to me to decide what resonates with me, and go, and use the for me, it's mostly alternative, but there certainly are wonderful medical people out there, to just take what they have to say and go deep inside and find out what your body wants. Only my body knows what it needs. I can't always read it correctly, but it does talk to me. It does tell me, there's an ache here and there's a reason for that. So deal with it, Karen. And that's part of what I hope with the Let's Be Peace movement, that people will realize that we have so much, we really come in with so much abilities, and our bodies are so beautiful. And the more, and I think the younger people are coming in and realizing it more. I'm optimistic that, as more evolved souls come onto this earth, they are going to be peace, because they'll remember who they are. They'll remember why they're supposed to be here.
Yeah, so true. So how do you see the Let's Be Peace movement evolving over the next 5, 10, 20 years?
Oh, wonderful thought. In less time than that, I anticipate that we will have peace. It's so beyond me and this particular Let's Be Peace movement. One of the people that I just interviewed has a Facebook page called 10 Million Prayers for Peace, and they do like daily prayers, 7 minute prayers for peace. So it's happening. It's happening all around us. People are just evolving at their own pace, and they're in their own way. And I am very optimistic that it'll be less than 10 years that we're going to have peace. But right now it's a rocky time. It's a rocky time. So if each one of us do our best to be peace within ourselves, that will help the peace movement. All peace movements.
Now, I know in your book, and you mentioned it a little bit here, your production company, Crystal Pyramid Productions. Is that still alive? And is your Let's Be Peace movement going to be followed by your production company and integrated into it? How will those work together?
Yes, well, everything that I do business-wise goes through Crystal Pyramid Productions. So yes, the Let's Be Peace movement will be part of that. And in terms of actually doing videos and things like that, I really hadn't thought about that until this moment, Carla. But thank you for putting it into my consciousness. And sure, of course, just the fact that I named my company over 20 years ago, Crystal Pyramid Productions. And I have to give credit to the gentleman that I was living with at the time, because he said, "You love crystals, let's call it Crystal Pyramid Productions." So it was technically his idea, but I incorporated many years ago. And it amazed me that in California that I was able to incorporate that name. Nobody had taken it. There's another company that uses it, but they don't have the incorporation. So even Crystal Pyramid Productions is kind of, a peaceful kind of name.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's why I was guided to use it. But thank you, Carla. I really hadn't thought far beyond the podcast into doing videos and, maybe even a movie. So thanks for helping expand my consciousness.
Of course, of course. And I love your message that the peace has to start with the individual. Because it doesn't matter how much we go out with our megaphone and talk about let's have peace, let's have peace. If we're going into our families and our jobs and just creating a ruckus and tearing people down, and we're not creating peace ourselves. And if we're, although I've practiced for 25 years as a podiatrist, I'm becoming a health and life coach.
Oh, nice.
And one of the things that you probably know through your own journeys is it's what we say to ourselves in our heads that create the most violence in ourselves. We tend to be really terrible to ourselves. Many things in society promote that and propagate it. And it can be a real struggle and fight to overcome those negative thoughts in our own mind. So starting with ourselves and our own minds and our own health, in today's society, just being overscheduled and overworked and not taking the time for self-care. And then we become grumpy pants. And
I love that. What'd you say? Grumpy pants? I love that. That's great.
And then
I'm going to use that if I may.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. So, when we're not taking care of ourselves, then we're inadvertently, even unconsciously, spreading the trauma. I just recently did a course on trauma and learned all about the generational trauma. And it's going to be up to more people to just break the cycle. And you only break the cycle when you start with yourself, rather than blaming your parents and grandparents and society. You're just like, enough with blame. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to break the cycle. And peace is going to start with me.
That's it. You got it. and you are creating it. I mean, that's there's nothing that I need to add to that. I so feel that it's a one on mission that we're all going to better ourselves. The only other thing I wanted to mention, something I've worked very diligently on, especially since the pandemic, is to not judge. Yeah. I mean, and I certainly have not conquered it completely, but I do my best to stop myself when I'm judging. I mean, I was with a friend the other day, and I said something. I said, "Oops, that's a judgment." So I'm learning to at least catch myself when little things, judging what somebody's wearing, judging what's going on in big things, what's going on in the world. It's not for me to judge others.
Mm-hmm.
It's for me to forgive myself, to go inside, and to weigh how I react, with every individual thing, okay, Karen, don't, you're judging. Let's not do that. So that's just a little personal tip that I'm way up there age-wise, and I'm still learning. So
it's a lifelong journey, right?
It is. And it's one of the things with age does come wisdom. And I do believe I'm in the prime of my life. And just learning more and more, and just being able to share. I mean, I'm so grateful that whatever motivated me to write It's About Time, my award-winning TV adventure, it just all has come together to really enhance my life and my purpose. And that's another thing for peace. I encourage people to not feel they have to find one particular purpose, but to know that, when they're peaceful, that it's pretty likely their purpose, what will resonate with them, will come forward. They'll figure it out. And it could be many purposes. I think my earlier life, I had different kind of purposes. Purposes, is there such a word?
It is now.
Multiply, right? It is now. multiple purposes. I can't. I'm having trouble coming up with another word. And it was more of a, I was more of a type A personality, and in working through a male dominated career, and all of that taught me so much to help me come to the point where peace is what works for me.
Mhm.
And that's what I want to share with the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. Jumping back to the non-judgment for a minute, there's a great course out there called the Clarity Catalyst. And I've taught it. Many of my friends teach it. And there's a whole week. It's an 8-week emotional intelligence course. And there's a whole week about the non-judgment. Not just, not judging others, but not judging ourselves. And it was funny because when you were talking about it, I was thinking, in it, we teach this tool called Just Like Me. So when you catch yourself judging someone, you say, oh yeah, just like me. I do that a lot.
That's wonderful.
Especially in traffic. When you get upset at somebody cutting you off and you're cursing them out, and then you can stop and think, you know what, there have been times where I've cut people off, so,
Yeah, for sure.
not to judge those people because we've all done those same things ourselves.
Yeah, but for the grace of God, I think is the old saying. I don't even know where that saying comes from, but that's what I think of when you say that. Yeah, we don't know where that person is coming from. And
we don't know what crosses they're bearing.
yes.
We have no idea what they've been through that day.
Yeah, exactly.
So just because they're rude to us in the grocery line, it's not about us, and we shouldn't take it personally.
Absolutely.
So I'm interested in hearing about your spiritual journey. You talk about it in your book. If I'm not mistaken, I think you had a lot about it on your website. But I was wondering if you wanted to share a little bit about your own spiritual journey and how you got where you are today, and what your advice is for other people.
It's interesting because I grew up not believing in angels and guides. I mean, I always thought that was a Christian belief system, which I found out. I mean, it's a wonderful Christian belief system, but it's also totally universal. So it was the first time that I've lived in LA twice, and the first time, and that's when in the book, I talk about Della Reese and Bob Hope and Rod Sterling. That's when I did, as a production assistant, the national shows. The first time I was in LA was in the early 70s. And I was in a bookstore, and literally a book about angels fell out of the shop, out of the shelf into me. And so I started reading about angels and guides and that kind of thing. And I started exploring it. But then I got busy in life, and, kind of just, it was part of, I became more aware of the dimensions that we deal in. But I hadn't really seeped myself in anything particularly spiritual. I have when I was very young, I had rejected organized religion. I remember saying to my father, I don't understand, religion. There's too many wars in the name of religion. And I was probably a preteen when I said that, if not younger. And so even though I followed my parents' traditions of their religion, I reject, and I studied some religions, and none of the religions are for war. I mean, the pure part of the religions, but so many people have taken and started wars in the name of religion that I rejected. So I always, considered myself spiritual and not religious. And I just, when I was in a very high energy field, I put it that way, didn't pay a lot of attention, although I discovered my first channeler and psychic and that kind of thing when I was in New York. And so I kept that part of me active, and I consider that part of my spiritual journey too. And when I remember at a program directors meeting, and was all the program directors and all the general managers and from the NBC group. And I was talking about channeling and guides and, other dimensions and that kind of thing. And after the lunch, one of my co program directors said, "I believed in this for a long time, but I never would have mentioned it in front of everybody." But I became very comfortable with the idea that that's just who I am. It's, you don't have to agree, hopefully you won't judge, although many people do. But I just became more and more comfortable in my belief system. And about 5 years ago, I met through a radio show, Sue Storm, who calls herself the Angel Ladies, and she tells you who you're, and she's in my list of teammates, and she can tell you who your guardian angels are. And I now have a whole slew of angels. There's an angel named Rita who helps with writing, and there's Bernard and Raymond who help with technology. So when something goes wrong in technology, I call them. So there's a whole list that I call in, and I learned all of that from Sue. And it's not, to me, it's not important whether you believe in that or not. It's just, it's just another tool to use to go inside.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're there if you want to access them, or it's just your own intuition and believing that. And I believe in more in going inside than I ever did before. But I also have these teammates. Some of them happen to be on the other side or in another dimension. So
Right. Yeah, intuition is so important. It's so huge.
yeah.
And, back when you were talking about spirituality, organized religion, in my opinion, they're almost the opposite. I feel like spirituality and religion are two completely separate things. And many times, organized religion, in my opinion, actually impedes spirituality. I just recently read a great book by a woman named Gina DeVee, who started off as a clinical psychologist and ended up becoming a life coach. And she wrote a book called The Audacity to Be Queen. And in it, she said that the reason why so many people can't find their way is that they haven't individualized and customized their spirituality. They're all trying to practice their spirituality through a group that's telling them how to be spiritual. And the key to keep it alive and keep it vibrant is to make sure you customize yours. And when you customize your spirituality, then you really grow with the spirit, whatever you call that, right? And we all call it different things.
I love that. I used to, God bless my father. He was open to listen to all this stuff, whether he agreed with it or not. And I used to tell him, and I don't follow anything. And I don't. I've just always taken in all this information, and some things I resonate with and some things I don't. And at one point he said something like, you've got gurus. And I said, no, I don't follow anybody or anything. I just listen to all this information. What resonates with me is what I use. And that evolves over time. That's, that has evolved and changed, but it is exactly what you're saying. And what you've found in this book is that it's just taking what resonates with me, going inside. And, that's who I am today. I can't tell you for sure who I will be tomorrow. But
that's so true, because hopefully we're all growing. And so hopefully we're all a different person tomorrow, a better person, ideally, more towards our ideal selves.
Exactly. We're coming up on Saturday's November 11th, which is supposed to be a cosmically very important time for us to go inside and help evolve the world.
That sounds great. Is there anything else you'd like to tell everybody about the Let's Be Peace movement or your upcoming book or Anything at all?
I wanted to, I just made some notes on how listeners could become peace. And the first is what we've been talking about, go inside. The other is breathing. I keep learning more and more about how important it is to breathe. And there's a couple of breathing patterns that I've learned. One is you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, and you hold for another 4. The other comes from Dr. Andrew Weil, who's a wonderful holistic practitioner. And he does, you breathe in for 4, you hold for 7, and you breathe out for 8. And both work for me in different circumstances. But one, when you're concentrating on your peace, when you're concentrating on your breath, you have to be peace. I mean, that's because it's so. I highly recommend to find a breathing practice that works for you, and to do that. Discover different modalities that can help you improve your health and wellness. I believe it's very difficult to be healthy or to be peaceful until you enhance your well-being. So it's and again, for a very, very long time, and I'm not even sure where it came from, I've always told people to put themselves first. And especially my friends with children, which I don't, I have stepchildren, but I have never raised children. And I believe you can't be good for somebody else until you're good for you. And I think that's also, a way to peace. If you don't, and we're trained to not put ourselves first. Well, I don't believe in that. I think we really do need to put ourselves first, take care of ourselves. And then when we're at our optimum, we can be better for other people. And I'm not having raised children, I cannot tell you. I know that makes it much more difficult because there's a responsibility to raising children. But as much as you can put yourself first, give yourself something, once a week or once a day that makes you feel good. Let's see. Acknowledge that it's not them and us. We are all one, and we can find the answers inside of ourselves. That's been big lessons for me. I believe in surrendering and allowing to do my best to avoid internalizing the outside forces, and I've for many, many years, and I've produced news a little bit when I was with NBC, and I've told people not to watch news, and especially not before you go to bed, because that disturbs peace. I mean, I'm very careful what I allow in my living room. I mean, I just don't. And again, it's easy for me because I'm single, and I'm just dealing with myself. But I don't watch violent movies. I don't, watch violent television shows. I'm, Hallmark Channel girl. If it's not peaceful, I don't want it in my living room. So that's one of my peace methods. And then assemble teammates. Find people who you resonate with, that you can get their advice. But I believe never make their decision your decision. Find out what resonates with you, and if it resonates with you and is peaceful in your body, then do what resonates for you. It's not turning yourself over to another human. And those are some of my tips for people.
Well, that's good, because I was just going to ask you, what would you say are the top 3 tips you would give people to find peace within themselves?
The breathing, going with their intuition, and finding teammates who you resonate with to help you answer some of the questions. But it really is all inside, and don't overtax yourself. If you're being peace, that's going to spread peace. You don't need to write about it, or you can, I sign all my social media # Let's Be Peace, but it's not about you'll spread it by just being you. You'll
True,
spread
true.
peace by just being peaceful as much as you can. And I think the non-judgment part of it is one of the tougher things. But I think the more we can work on going, okay, that's this person's choice. It's not mine, but to not judge it as bad or good, which is the tough part.
Yeah, so true. It's so funny because everything you just mentioned is essentially a whole unit in this Clarity Catalyst course.
Oh,
Are you familiar with the hero's journey?
yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you say teammates, that's what I think of as the hero's journey, and how you can't just go through life solo. You got to have your, as you have said, the teammates, the angels, the helpers, the friends, anybody that you can get to help you on your journey, because we're not all in it alone.
Well, and I think you'd be less lonely if you realize how many teammates we have, how many, the angels and the guides and what we have inside of us. And I think the loneliness is by not. I mean, I really love myself. I really like my alone time and have for many years. And I love to, I'm very comfortable within myself. Zoom has been just such a boon to me because I mean I can sit here and meet you and talk to you and keep in touch with people all over the world. So it's been great. And then and I don't go outside of that much anymore. I do when it's fun. I just a friend was in from New York and I had dinner with her the other night. But I'm very happy to be by myself. I'm happy to, and I think there's a balance to that. But learn to love and trust yourself. Maybe that's the message.
I think that's a great message.
I'm going to write that down.
All right, love and trust yourself. So at the end of every episode, I like to have a call to action. Would you like to give people a call to action?
Yes, learn to love and trust yourself.
That's perfect.
Absolutely.
The timing on that couldn't have been more perfect.
I'm going to start doing that on social media.
Right. Speaking of social media, the hashtag Let's Be Peace. Is that something that you encourage other people to use?
Sure. I'm not that knowledgeable about what hashtags do. I've just been doing it for so many years, but yes, I mean, I think the more people that use Let's Be Peace, and it's now, I find now on Facebook when I do it, and now says over 1,000, it's been used over 1,000 times. I think all 1,000 times were me.
But hey, if that works, that works. I get the same thing when I do the hashtag Infuse Your Future. It's less than 1,000.
So, well, but you haven't been doing as many years as I have, so
True, true.
it will be there. But yes, if people want to start using hashtag I'm not sure where that will go, but it will be spreading the message Let's Be Peace. So sounds good to me.
Truthfully, I don't really know what the hashtags do either, except that
thank you, Carla.
I think when you use it, they all go into like a pool of, so if you look at the hashtag itself, then you can pull up everything that has been associated with that hashtag.
I'll have to Google hashtag Let's Be Peace and see what happens.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to do.
Yeah, because I know when I do Let's Be Peace, and when from my website, KarenLeeCohen.com comes up right away. But when I do Let's Be Peace, a lot of other things come up first. But I haven't tried hashtag Let's Be Peace, so I'll Google that today and see what happens. I'll let you know.
Okay, that sounds good. So if people want to be a part of your Let's Be Peace movement, what do you suggest they do?
Be Peace and go to my website, letsbepeace.com, and just send me a note saying you want to be part of the movement. If there's anything particular you want to do, let me know, and I certainly will let everybody know when the book and podcasts are out. But it'll probably be early next year, but I don't know when. But sure, get in touch with me. And if there's anything you want to let me know about, about being peace, I would love to hear it.
Well, I'm excited to see this movement grow, and I can't wait to continue to follow you. I'll put your website and other important information in the show notes so that people have easy access to it. And I hope you go viral with your message about peace.
Thank you. And you're part of the movement now, Carla. Thank you.
I love it. I couldn't be more proud of that. Well, I
And
really thank you, and thank you for being on the show, and appreciate your time and your message. So thank you very much.
it's an honor. I appreciate you.